This is another one of those most important squares in town. We've been to the Marienplatz, which is super important. And this is the Max-Josef-Platz. And it just has splendid things all around us. We have the opera right here. It's got some of the best acoustics in the world. Over here is the Royal Palace. It's called the Residenz. There was quite a bit of royalty here in Munich, the kings of Bavaria. This is Max-Josef-Platz, and he's sitting in the middle there. One of the great kings. King Ludwig was another one of the really great kings. And over here we've got the post office. Another grand building. Now the architectural style of this block and the next few blocks that we're going to see is kind of a mix of Florence during the Renaissance and Greece during the classical period, ancient Greece and Rome. King Ludwig wanted to turn Munich into a city of the arts, and he modeled it after Athens and ancient Rome. And that was in the early 1600s. And then also there was this Florentine influence. This building is almost an exact copy of the Pitti Palace in Florence. Same architectural style, it's a little bit smaller, but it keeps on going. This is only the front door. The Residence, as it's called, is a public museum. It's something like Versailles. So you see room after room after room of fabulous furniture and chandeliers and murals. And then there's a treasury which has the silverware and some painted halls. And it's really quite nice. In the back there's an open courtyard where they often have music at night outdoors. It's worth a visit into the Residenz-Museum. It's a large complex and has a variety of rooms that you can walk through. This is the largest and oldest of the surviving rooms. It's the Antiquarium, or the Hall of Antiques, that dates back to 1570. But the original castle dates well back into the 14th century, and it's been built and rebuilt over the centuries. This room is lined with gold, very sumptuous interior. The throne room, you'll see the royal bedroom and the different parts of the residence, including the royal chapel. The time periods primarily represented here are the Renaissance, when much of it was built, and then later in the neoclassical period. And there's certainly a lot of Baroque and Rococo embellishments on the interior. The treasury is actually a separate museum that requires a second admission charge. This museum is so big, you can pay 3 admission charges to see the whole thing. This outdoor grotto courtyard features a statue of Medusa in the center, her head chopped off and water spewing out like blood. You could easily spend an entire day here exploring the palace, which is one of the largest publicly accessible palaces in all of Europe. Or you can just run through it in a couple of hours and enjoy the highlights without going into any great detail. There's self-guided tours, or you can sign up for one of the half-day guided tours at the museum. Right on Odeonplatz and Max-Josef-Platz in the heart of town. The Residence has a bench outside in that old Florentine style, so the public can sit down, have lunch, talk story, and the royals inside could eavesdrop and find out what the people are thinking. This cafe is one of the most famous in town, the Spaten House, for coffee or beer or for food. On a nice day, people sit outside here, enjoying the view. And our hotel is only a block or two that way and to the left. The loggia right up here is very much in the Florence style. It looks just like the one in the Piazza della Signoria, the loggia of the Lancers in Florence. Those of you who have been with us, Rome to London, recognize that. And right on cue, over here we have the Theatre Church, the Theater Kirche, constructed in the Italian Baroque style. So let's come on inside the church and have a peek. Laurel wreaths wrapped up around these spiral columns, stucco angels flying across the walls. The Theatine Church was completed in 1768 in this very elaborate style you see with the intricate decorations. At first, the local Germans didn't care for the Baroque, but later they adopted it as their main architectural style. Many of the royals are buried in this church. There is a big Italian influence on the architecture of Munich in the 1700s. They greatly admired the Italian Renaissance and the Baroque style of architecture, and you'll find echoes of that throughout the city. The church is named after a small group of Roman Catholic clergy, the Theatines. It's located on Odeonplatz, right around the corner from the opera. Another look at the opera, and on the opera square you'll find some wonderful old buildings. There's the Royal Palace that we were just inside, the Residence. Looks like the Pitti Palace in Florence. And there's a terrific restaurant on the square. It's called the Spatenhaus. Famous place for its house beer, Spaten beer, and for their traditional German cuisine. Try the Bavarian sampler plate. You'll get duck and pork and sausages and dumplings and potatoes and salad and a huge pile of food for a very reasonable price. That would certainly be enough for two people. And you get this great view of the opera as you dine outdoors at the Spatenhaus on their sidewalk terrace. This is the residence still over here on the side, and notice it's got these painted decorations. It looks like columns or pilasters. It's just all painted on in a trompe-l'oeil style, just part of the decor. And the palace continues in for a couple of blocks. It's really quite a large structure. And then just behind it is the gardens, the Hofgarten. And you can explore that on your own if you wish to. We're not all going to go over there right now, but it's just another block away. And then this street, further, Leopoldstrasse, goes all the way up for about a mile. And the university begins just about a quarter mile from here. We've taken you inside the residence in previous programs, so today we're just walking by and seeing some other parts of town. Just a few blocks over is the Bayerischer Hof Hotel, 5-star ultra deluxe. This may be the top hotel in Munich, very expensive, and they have a Hawaiian restaurant. Well, pseudo-Polynesian kitsch anyway, in the form of Trader Vic's. A Chinese-style Hawaiian Polynesian restaurant. And also in the lower level of this hotel is an inexpensive restaurant. It's pretty hard to find it. There's no big sign outside, but there it is, the Palais Keller, the Palace Cellar. And gee, it's got good local traditional cuisine at a very reasonable price. There's a whole number of these cellar restaurants. There's one here in the Rathaus Cellar, underneath the City Hall, that's very famous for its beer as well.